Scotland Six Nations squad has been named. It was actually named the other day, but I spent the week out of Auckland. My company requested I take some annual leave because I had too much owing. So I missed out on a bit of rugby news, but I've had a look at the Scotland squad. Interestingly, not every day, but for a couple of days I was out of Auckland, it absolutely hosed down with rain and was very misty and wet and cold. So I was thinking, what better connection with Scotland? Is that stereotype true? Haven't been to Scotland, so I don't know. But anyway, we'll go through the Scotland squad quickly. There certainly are a few changes. There's a few new names for me, and maybe for some of you guys as well. But we'll have a look, see where they're looking strong, see where they're looking maybe a bit thin, and you guys can let me know your thoughts. I've said for quite some time that the Scotland squad looks to have more depth in recent times than has been the case for goodness knows how long. Like, the amount of depth in the back row has been huge. They've got some proper world-class props at the moment, like some of the best props in Europe, if not the world. They've got, third and fourth choice fly half playing when the first two guys have been out. They got wings for days. Like, I don't know, man. It just seems like a squad which has got bags of talent. So we'll see how well, assuming the Six Nations goes ahead, we'll see how well that talent presents itself on the pitch. In terms of those props that I was speaking of, you got Bergen, Dell is back into the squad, Xander Ferguson, Kebble, Nell, and Sutherland. So I think Dell wasn't in the Autumn Nations Cup lineup. Always been a favorite of mine anyway, as a fan. He may not be the best scrummager, which is probably a key weakness if you're a prop, seeing as it's the primary job, but bloody hell, he's good around the park. But primarily, my favourite guys there is probably Xander Ferguson and old Rory Sutherland. Those guys are surely, it's Gats in charge of the Lions, but I don't know, man. Those guys are very good props, aren't they? Very good at propping that scrum, basically. Winning penalties, avoiding conceding penalties is one of the better scrums around. So, I don't know. I think there's a bit of depth there. Kebble obviously came into the squad relatively recently. There's a mixture of caps, like Bergen's got 28 caps. My screen's flashing when I mentioned Bergen. Dell's got like 32 caps. A lot of these guys in their late 20s. Xander Ferguson at 25 years old and 34 caps is one of the younger guys, but one of the more experienced as well. Kebble, as I mentioned, has only been relatively recently into the Scotland lineup. It's the hookers where things start to get at least a little bit sketchy for me in terms of not knowing as much about these guys. Like, Fraser Brown's injured, Stuart McAnally's injured. Those guys have been the mainstay of that number 2 jersey for Scotland for quite some time. But you've got Ewan Ashman, who I did not know. Apparently he plays for Sale, but he's been tearing it up for the Scottish under-20. So apparently there's a lot of promise around him. There's David Cherry, who's been around the block. I think he's been called up for Scotland before, but not yet been capped. So he's kind of at the other end of the scale, 30 years old, compared to the 20-year-old Ashman. And then you've got Turner, who probably is George Turner's probably like the incumbent at this point of all the guys, of all the 4 hookers. And 4 is quite a lot. Usually they go with 3, don't they? Maybe they go with 4. I don't know. I feel like 4 is quite a lot. It's usually McAnally, Brown, and Turner, isn't it? And yeah, Grant Stewart is the other guy as well. 3 caps for Scotland, 25 years old. So yeah, that's a relatively light on experience, at least at international level, for the hooker role. But I mean, it's good to blood new guys. Like, it's been McAnally and Brown for forever, so it's not a bad thing to rotate things around a little bit. Ideally, you're not forced to do it as quickly as this, but that is what it is. For the locks, there's Craig, Cummins, Gilchrist, the 2 Greys. So there's a fair bit of locking talent, you'd have to say there. I mean, Johnny Gray's had his hands on at least one of the jerseys for, again, goodness knows how long. They do rotate him out a little bit. I remember he didn't play kind of every game, which is nice to see. And he's a workhorse, so he probably needs a bit of rest with the amount of tackles he gets through. Gilchrist is no slouch. Yeah, he's been around the block for quite some time. Cummings as well. I think he's only got like 17 caps, but it feels like he's been around for forever as well. Lucy's is an area they seem to keep chopping and changing. It's like Richie and Watson are pretty much set in stone. And it's whoever's the third guy who's going to join them that seems to be continuously changing. Matt Fagerson, Gary Graham, Blade Thompson. They are the other guys who can kind of join in there. Who is it? Is it Matt Fagerson? He's only pretty young, but he's impressed when he's had the chance, right? They've gotten rid of Blair Cowan, they've gotten rid of Cornell Dupree, they've gotten rid of Nick Hanning, but I'm not sure how many of those guys are injured and how many of those are just selections based on form. I don't know. I don't know what the best combo is. I'm not sure about Blade Thompson, man. Like, is that a failed experiment at this point? He's never really cracked on at international level yet. I mean, I loved him when he was here in Super Rugby. I haven't seen enough of Scarlets to know how he's been going, but he's not exactly set the world alight. He's 30 years old. He'll be 32 at a World Cup. I know he can cover lock as well, so I don't know. But they need to... I don't know. They rotated a bit. I remember there was one game in the Autumn Nations Cup. I think they didn't play Richie and Watson together, so yeah, maybe a bit of experience building is needed. But anyway, still lots of talent in the back row for Scotland. For the backs, Price and Steele are the two scrum halves. There's no third scrum half. Maybe that's why they've got an extra hooker in there. I don't know. But it means Hidalgo Klein is not there. Horn is injured, so he's not available. But yeah, Steele is the second guy probably, with Price being the leading man there. Fly half, Russell and Van der Vault are the two guys, which means I think Hastings is still injured, but Duncan Weir, he is, I guess, pretty much the fourth choice at this point, which sucks for him because, I mean, Van der Vault's gotten his residency and he's qualified, but it seems like he's kind of jumped up the pecking order above Weir. So, I don't know. If Weir is behind Van der Vault, Russell and Hastings, is his Scotland career pretty much done? It seemed to be done for a while until he got that most recent call-up with Russell and Hastings being injured. But anyway, Harris, Jones, Lang, Redpath, and Taylor, the midfielders. Or I think Jones has been playing a bit in the outside backs, hasn't he? Redpath is one of the new call-ups. His dad played for Scotland, so that's nice to see, although he himself played for the England under-20s, so there's been a fair bit of talk from England fans about he's another one that got away, with Wales and now Scotland picking up a few guys who played for England at kind of that age grade level and not able to get that full cap internationally, so have been snapped up elsewhere. Yeah. I don't know about the midfield as well. I'm still not sure what the best combo is. I'm a bit disappointed there's no Hutchinson. But I don't know. I don't know what he's done. Sam Johnson, is he injured? Or is he just on the outer? Outside backs, Darcy Graham, good to see him there. Blair Kinghorn, Maitland, McGuigan is back in the side. Van der Merwe and Hogg is captain at 15. Van der Merwe and Graham could be a potentially exciting midfield. Maitland is getting on. He's getting a bit long in the tooth. I'm always thinking about that next World Cup. Like, this is the time guys need to be getting minutes. Is Maitland going to be Rugby World Cup starting winger in a couple of years? I'm not sold. So, I don't know. But it's good to have a bit of a mixture of youth and experience, I guess, around the camp. You can't just only have young guys. You need some of the old boys to keep them in line. But yeah, as I mentioned, like it's a pretty exciting Scottish squad. There's a few guys who are back in, like Grant Stewart, like Gary Graham, who've got those Scotland caps, but only in kind of small numbers. You've got a few debutants, Ashman, potential debutants, Cherry, Craig and Redpath. yeah, McGuigan's back on the side again, 31-year-old. There's no, like I mentioned, no Hidalgo Klein, Duncan Weir, Nick Gregg, Sam Johnson, Roy Hutchinson, Sam Skinner. Yeah, there's a few guys who are on the outer. It seems to chop and change a fair bit with Townsend. But the core seems to remain the same. It's just finding those kind of supporting pieces which haven't quite clicked or haven't quite got themselves in stone as yet. But average age of the forwards seems to be around about 27, and the average age of the backs seems to be about 27. So the average age of the squad seems to be about 27, which is not a bad thing going into a World Cup in a couple of years. If you got a bunch of guys who are around about 30, still young enough to have their kind of full force, but experienced enough to not be kind of deers in the headlights kind of thing. But yeah, if any of those guys I mentioned are injured and unavailable, do let me know. I've just closed my book, but I did write down, I think, the majority of them. Brown, George Hall, McAnally, Hastings. Yeah, I think I mentioned all those guys. I know those guys are out with injury, but anyway. Is it going to be the year that Scotland kind of crack on and really push? Or will it be more of the same? I'm hoping, maybe stupidly, that it's a year that they can properly crack on and get themselves some good scalps and not be satisfied with, like, beating England or something like that. I would have thought some silverware would be nice, but France are on the rise. Wales will certainly be better than they were in 2020. So Ireland are still building. So it's going to be a competitive Six Nations. These guys, you could see them finishing anywhere from first to fifth, really, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe I'm just dreaming. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on the Scotland squad. Like I mentioned, it's hooker that they're kind of lacking a bit of depth, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And yeah, I'm still not sure how all the combos are going to line up, but the pieces are there. It's just how they're going to fit together. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.